All right, so today we're going to dive into a lot of different tokens, breaking down some of the narratives. Some of that will be around AR, VR, and also some of the tokens that maybe did pretty well or could do pretty well based on what we saw at Davos over at WEF. So we'll get it all to you guys. My name is Paul Barron. Welcome back into Tech Path. This is going to be a good one. I do want to thank our sponsor today. That's Lux Algo. If you guys are looking to enhance your trading experience, make sure and jump over to the Lux Algo website, just luxalgo.com. And you can actually get the trading indicators that I use here on the show. We'll showcase those throughout our token analysis today and get into some charts. So we're going to be breaking all this stuff down for you. So make sure and check it out. Click our link down below for some additional support there. All right, so I want to start off with Bitcoin. And I think, for most people, we've been seeing a fairly significant impact on Bitcoin in general, mostly because of what we've seen after the ETF, which has kind of been a sell the news event. So joining me today is Jacob coming in from Lux Algo. We're going to dive into Bitcoin a little bit and take a little deeper dive. All right, mentioned it early. Bitcoin had a bit of a regression here for obvious reasons. I think still this is some ETF hangover, so to speak. And if you look at Bitcoin right now, in the current chart, I'm just showing my Lux Algo chart. The two indicators that I like, of course, is the oscillator, which gives me kind of a little bit of a understanding of where the money flow is, and then the signals overlay, which I think is still one of the best ones for me to use in understanding what's happening with the token. When you look at Bitcoin right now, Jacob, and you see the pull-off that we've seen, here recently, first of all, what is your opinion on where Bitcoin is going?
Yeah, now we are back into, that consolidation range before we broke out. Now, we like to do top-down analysis. So we start usually on our highest time frame would probably be the weekly. But in this case, we've been talking about this past week, a healthy retracement. I mean, this is totally fine due to the massive move we've had into the ETF news and everything. But we do have a nice, imbalance sitting here below 40,000. So in this case, I do think it coming back below 40K would be actually a pretty healthy move. As you can see on the oscillator matrix, it is quite extended. But in that case, too, we're coming out of a downtrend formation that was forming at the highs and the lows here. So we need a bullish turning point somewhere in the high 60s and 70s there, which would indicate a very nice pullback into possibly this imbalance, which would be great because then from there, if we actually show support, that could give us that strength to get through this order block that we have rejected here on the weekly. So that's what we're kind of identifying.
I'm looking at the weekly, much like you, and you're right. When you look at this, it's pretty much just been up only here for the last almost the last year.
Exactly.
And these are very strong indicators. I think there's still a lot of what we've seen kind of leading into the ETF, but also we have a halving coming up here the 1st of May. Right now, landing in the first week of May for the halving, and that most likely is going to have some fairly significant impact, I would say, on just Bitcoin. Now, on the overall market, who knows what would happen there. When you look at this on the long-term side of things, let's go into, say, mid-year by June. Is this giving you still upward bullish trends, even though we could see a retracement down below 40K? What are your thoughts?
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, just overall in the midterm, especially with the halving coming up in April, in May time frame, we're thinking, with that happening, it's been repeated that in the past, for the past three halvings, it's, we've had a 40 or I think it's like 70% increase year before it happened. And right now we're sitting about a 43% increase. So I would like to see that number around 50%. And based on the 40K level, we would need to be above 40K for us to hit roughly 50 to 70% increase a year out from the halving. And then after that, if history were to repeat itself, then we would have a big bull run accordingly. So hopefully that's kind of what we get through the support above 40K here and what we're really watching off these lows right now. So we'll see.
Jacob, I want to jump over to the narrative of AR VR, and I think we've seen a lot happen here just in the last few months. But of course, Apple coming in with their Vision Pro, this thing took 18 minutes to sell out. So it's clear that there is a demand, even though there was a limited numbers. I will just say that. But remember also back in the end of last year, Meta was #1 on the App Store around the holiday season, meaning everybody was getting these Meta Quests. So AR, VR definitely here to stay. When you look at Apple as a stock and you use Lux Algo to kind of trace it, this has been one of those stocks that has had kind of a bumpy ride, but at the same time, you know, their market cap just got out pushed by what's happening with Microsoft. Do you like Apple as a potential buy right now with them having a little bit of movement?
I mean, what's cool is actually the day before this, we did get a 4 strong signal, and today we're up, almost 2% on that. But this is something where we talk about that NeoCloud quite a bit. It's like we don't look bearish until our trend following tools are telling us accordingly. The NeoCloud never stepped down from these highs, so it definitely was looking for a bigger move to the downside for it to consider this retracement to be something on the bearish side of things. As you can see, the oscillator, even on this small retracement on the daily, it extended extremely, which is quite interesting to see, because usually when an oscillator extends that much and the move wasn't very great, I mean, on a daily time frame, that's a pretty big move, but we all know in the tech industry, this price can immediately jump back to where it was, and as you can tell, it has done that already. So, I mean, there's nothing against fighting this trend for now. I think, anybody who is able to get Apple at a discount in the $180 range, you can tell a lot of volume is traded through that level. So I don't see why below these all-time highs it's not a terrible buy, especially for the long term. So I wouldn't be too worried about it.
All right. So interesting on that one. I want to get into some other stocks that have, a lot of implications toward AR, VR, because you get into stocks and then we get into the tokens. NVIDIA, of course, huge into what we'll see in AR, VR. Here was Zuckerberg going in talking. He just put this out as a message to everybody that follows on Meta, but he's talking about open sourcing still continuing. They're still training their Llama 3, which is one of their AI models, AI plus metaverse. 350,000, these H100 levels of compute. And then what he's talking about is this is billions and billions of dollars of GPU power. So he must be expecting some pretty big moves here overall. When you think about that and you look at Meta stock, I mean, this has been just like, Meta has been just on fire. What are your thoughts on that, along with NVIDIA, between the two?
Absolutely.
If you were playing either one, can you do a side by side
here?
Yeah, right.
I can. Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, let's look at it side by side. I want to see those two.
Let me get NVIDIA over here. So, I mean, very similar track here. Let me just apply these indicators. Now, I mean, we can see it looks like the exact same asset in this case. This massive move. So this is what we talked about NVIDIA the last time we were on here. It's like, if this thing isn't going to fully come back to that NeoCloud, it's not a position to sell. It's just that indicates very aggressive buying, and that's exactly what's happening on both of these, especially on this daily time frame. And even so, yeah, I mean, it's 383. It's just unreal seeing this finally kind of take off, because Facebook's taken some, beatings for a while in the past, chart, obviously, in 2022. Crazy. But yeah, coming into this last year, finally showing some strength and then getting this aggressive breakout is pretty impressive. So in this state, I mean, you can see we're getting an exit signal. This is something you were just like short-term trading with, like, a few months out. You could consider, these highs a decent take profit level, but it's like, if you're long term, there's no reason to be selling at these highs. You just kind of hold on for the aggressive run here. But man, what a move.
Go for the Apple zone for what's happening with, and even to a certain extent, maybe even like what Amazon did, which was up only for about 15 years. So
actually, it looks like Meta's actually testing those all-time highs right now. I think its all-time high was 384, and it's at 383 right now. Wow. So we might even get a breakout today.
I think the signal here for a lot of people in the crypto side is looking at AR, VR, that it's here to stay. We're seeing devices, and we're seeing the titans of industry kind of compete. So Apple's release and the sellout, I think, also was good for Meta, because it just shows the demand of it. And then when you look at the crypto tokens, because some of them, of course, the one we like here, it's one of our favorites, is Render. And remember, Render very connected to what's happening in the Apple ecosystem. And don't forget, their whole idea is around this idea of spatial content. So Render token, when you look at this one, because this has been another one that has also had a very good year in terms of run. What do you like about Render? Is this one that you might say, okay, let's go a little soft here, or take a look?
Yeah. Render here, obviously, with the crypto market kind of being opposite right now, the actual market, it's in an interesting spot, because the thing I do like about it, though, is when it did break down, and this is why we like to use the NeoCloud quite a bit, or me personally, obviously we have tools that are like for any type of trader, but me personally, when I see a real thin NeoCloud like that, this retracement definitely isn't very aggressive. So from this state, I mean, a lot of volume, and obviously that under $4 seems like it's a pretty decent buy at this current moment. It just doesn't want to break below like $3.50. Even when it got down here, it completely got bought back up. So it's respecting structure quite well and creating this range while we're waiting on the market to kind of settle off in crypto from the whole hype around the ETFs and stuff. So I wouldn't be too worried about it. I think this is a great value here, especially $3, $4. That's pretty awesome. So
I like it.
Let's see.
Further into other charts that are ARVR, Parallel, you guys know this token is Prime. We had the Parallel team on, so if you guys don't know much about it, go back and check out our video on that. But the Prime token also in alignment. You know, this, of course, one of the teams over at Parallel says they got their order in this morning, so expect some Vision Pro content, which is likely that we're going to see a lot more Web3 gaming maybe play into some of these VR, AR headsets, which is going to open some things up pretty quickly, I think, in terms of gaming. What do you like in terms of the Prime token?
Yeah. Prime's a little different, actually. It's starting its breakdown for now. We did get a 2 signal. The NeoCloud is still bullish, which is good. But the oscillator is showing pretty aggressive selling at this very moment. So in my opinion,
definitely,
it's like, if I like to trade divergences, so it is starting to set up in a divergence type standpoint. It's like, it's setting lower highs, but it's also setting lower lows. And now it's either going to set another lower high, but does it set a higher low and do something like this with price then, coming to retest that previous low it bounced with this order block sitting below $7? That's pretty much what I would look for. It's like, does this set up somewhere a little bit lower, give me a good price, and then I'll take it long. But yeah, that $7 below $7, maybe $6.80 would be,
nice,
in my opinion, a really great buy spot. Yeah, for sure.
Nice window. Let's take a look at Over, Jacob, because this is the other one that we've talked about here on the show that could be a winner and has been over the last few weeks, kind of with pent up demand. I'm just wondering if this is going to be one of those sell the news kind of scenarios with Over. What are your thoughts on the chart right now? How does it show up?
Yeah, over definitely a hold, in my opinion, right now. I mean, in this case, we're following structure properly. We had that 3 signal on that original break, and now it's testing on the daily, the Neo. But notice it's actually holding these highs right now, which is really good. So you're seeing it hold those highs, and that's why the NeoCloud's so great, because you don't necessarily have to look at it. But so long as it's holding that and stays above 60 cents here in a day or two, I mean, you could see potentially a pretty decent breakout. It's an interesting wick there on that candle. But it's holding at a great price. So this is something I would never sell at this moment. It could be a nice retracement buy so long as that, above 55 cents it holds. But
okay. One thing to watch here, guys, is the Coinbase case, because the Coinbase case could indicate a lot of activity in a variety of tokens that, one, were delisted from Coinbase when the SEC lawsuit came in. But this was Elliot Stein. This guy is one of the senior legal analysts over at Bloomberg, who was at the court yesterday. We did a full video on that, break down the last 2 videos. Go check them out. We also put one up with Metal Lawman, breaking down what this might mean for Coinbase based on what they heard in the hearing yesterday. This guy, Elliot Stein, is now giving this thing a 70% likely to win. And that in itself is huge for the opportunity around just digital assets as a whole going forward. So I think this is going to be a big, big opportunity for going forward. When you look at Coinbase's stock, it had a bit of a retracement yesterday. I think it was yesterday and the day before, pulled down quite a bit. I think it was almost 10%. What do you like? Is there a bottom on Coinbase's retracement right now, or do you still see this falling?
Yeah, potentially. Like as you said, from this high, it's like we're down 34%, which is impressive, honestly, of a sell-off from that high. But you can just tell how aggressive these buyers were. It seems like it was just accumulating pretty quickly, and people were just getting away with themselves and wanting to be like, "Oh, this is going to go to 400 in a way." But in this case, like, it's quite interesting to see with the oscillator, because the oscillator is extremely extended now. So with this 34% drop, it's actually not, it's only 50% of really the run that it had. And in this case, though, we're seeing it potentially come retest these highs it struggled at in the 110 level. So honestly, if I could, I might wait until we actually show a decent bullish day. But even if I can get it around 110, that's where I personally would buy. Based on those previous highs. I mean, even the weekly here, the structure in this case, which is cool. This is something we always talk about, is if you have a break of structure, we like to see a retracement to that break of structure and show support over it. That indicates a stronger trend. And at this state, you know, with this swing low and even a Fibonacci, you can see that 618. I didn't even make that up there. The 618 there, which is pretty healthy fib retracement, lines up exactly with the break of structure. So it's sitting right in that golden pocket area where it's like this, if it shows a bullish week, might be roughly under 130, a very good price to buy. So
interesting.
We'll see that for sure.
Possibly a correction there with Coinbase moving on. And I think with the case, you know, the potential of how the judge comes back, because I think Coinbase wins either way. If they come back and they throw the case out, meaning dismissing it, Coinbase wins huge. If they come back and just write a very stern, you know, opinion letter to the SEC saying, we're not going to throw this out, but you should tread lightly. That's what basically Metal Lawman was saying. That too kind of indicates, well, you're going to get your butt kicked in court. So, you know, take it for what you will, and we'll go to court with this. But
we know the lows for sure. We're probably showing some strength here, so I don't see why people wouldn't be buying this closer to $100 if they could.
Oh, big time for sure. All right, let's get into ETH. Obviously, Ethereum still on the move quite a bit. Just in the delays for right now, the SEC delays the decision for spot Bitcoin, or excuse me, spot ETF for Ethereum. Likelihood is we'll see more of those, but remember, May is the date and the window to watch right here. What do you like about Ethereum right now where it's trading?
Yeah, Ethereum's probably my favorite out of all of them, just because we finally got that breakout. It was very exciting. But we talked about this too on the past streams or videos here. Is like these lows, man, is the one that I was really worried about. A lot of volume was sitting there beforehand, and we've already shown some resistance at that 2,500. And that's why we were saying 2,500 is our sweet spot right now, because that's where it's going to decide whether we're going to hit all this low, you know, leftover liquidity that when it got broken through those lows. If it were to fully break out, then we would probably see a lot of buying action going into that next order block. So it's like this is still that struggle that we're waiting to break out, and then we should see some decent buying above that. But it's kind of waiting for that break. I mean, you have a rough imbalance here that didn't fully fill around 27, 24. Right. So we'll see. Over 2,800, I don't see, no doubt, this thing cranking through 3K, maybe 3,400. So it should be all right.
I'm trading 24.91 right now. Okay, I want to hit on Hedera. And Hedera made a huge splash at WEF. And this is the World Economic Forum getting in front of the global elite, really kind of trying to get Hedera's message out there. When you look at HBAR and you think about where it's, because it has had some retracement as well, what do you like about a potential buy zone for HBAR when you look at the charts?
I mean, this is already looking like a potential buy, in my opinion. I mean, weeklies, like, I can't stress enough, people, when you look you want to definitely start on the highest time frame you can, because that's really going to tell you, especially if you're a long-term holder, it's really going to give you a way better overview of what's going on. And so that's why we always start on a weekly chart. But in this case, very, very healthy retracement from this high here. It retested. Obviously, it came back down, but now we're showing support over 7 cents, 7.5 cents here. And if this thing actually wants to hold this price, I think is a great level. That's going to be waiting on a candle that's a little less indecisive as these two, something more with strength, something like that, or like this with less wicks. But for now, great structure on the weekly. I wanted to pull up the daily. The daily obviously is retracing a bit, similar to what we've been seeing. But again, this is an area where like people are going to buy above this high for now because they feel like they have a discount. But essentially, if you wanted to be safe, over 8.5 would be kind of a buy to push those highs again.
Okay.
But I honestly think on a weekly for a long term, you should be okay.
Yeah. I like that zone. Last up, of course, is Tesla. Elon Musk now putting a lot of pressure on Tesla shareholders. I'll kind of zoom in on that. This is Ross Gerber. He's been on our show talking Tesla before, but interesting because he's putting a lot of pressure in the sense, hey, I just need more stock. Give me more stock because I want to be able to control the voting. And of course, if you don't give me more stock, I'm going to start slowing down, my work. I'm going to stop sleeping on the factory floors. Okay, I get it. But this is a lot of pressure on Tesla as an overall. And if you look at the slowing sales of EVs, you also look at Ford, which just recently reduced production on the Lightning truck, which is the Ford F-150 in the electric format. This could put a lot of pressure on Tesla as a whole. As a stock, and you look at Tesla right now, is this a buy or is this one of those you would stay away from because of the volatility of what we're seeing right now in management?
I mean, I'm always going to say stay away from volatility if you don't know how to properly risk yourself. But it can be a lot of fun if you're smart about it. In this case, though, we've been waiting on Tesla, actually. We post updates like this on our Twitter all the time. But because of this high volume order block from this past bounce back in November. So we're touching this reversal zone. And we're riding it. Usually when you ride a reversal zone like this, it's showing that, very strong trend. But being here, we're pretty much waiting for a signal to come in, which is probably going to come with a structure break before considering an actual buy. So in that state, and that's the 1 hour there. But in the daily here, you can even see it's also lining up with an order block on the daily chart. Right. So in this case, we're retesting lows and highs and a previous, we haven't fully extended to 195, but I'm really thinking, if we can actually get back over 220, then we'll probably see this range like actually come back to the high 260s. But again, this is in the stock kind of format. We have to wait to see, the man himself kind of decide what he wants to do with the company. So we'll see based on his...
You got to remember too, when you look at Tesla, we've covered EVs quite a bit here on this channel in the past, and one thing to watch is China. China, of course, has a lot of impetus on the success of EVs. You look at that, Tesla's discounting in China right now. You've got, so I think we've seen continuous pressure. You've got numbers coming in of slowing sales in Tesla. You've got the issue of Ford starting to regress, and many of the U.S. automakers just saying that this isn't profitable for us. So I think this is a big question. And then you have mainstream media out there constantly pushing the narrative against electric, which I don't completely understand that with administration still going the way of electric. I don't know. It's going to be one to watch. Right. I'm looking at it as a trade. Anything under that, $200 mark, if Tesla does crack that, to me, that would be the one I'm looking at.
Absolutely. Sure. We all know what Tesla can do. So
yeah. I like it. Definitely. Hey, Jacob, it's always fun breaking it down here. We're definitely going to be doing, next week, I'm going to plan a little bit of an altcoin roundup with you. So we'll give you a full roster of altcoins that we might put into our portfolio. So many people have been asking about it on the show, so this might be a good time to start looking at some charts, because there could be some really good buys next week. Really good buys is what I'm thinking.
I'm in for it. Let's do it. I might buy some myself. Let's do it.
All right, my man. All right, Jacob, thanks for stopping in today. We appreciate it.
Yeah, see you soon.
All right. You guys, if you're tuned in over on the podcast side of things, jump over to the YouTube channel. You get a chance to catch these, TA videos, which are much better, I think, in full reality of seeing the charts and understanding what Lux Algo and Jacob are talking about, really seeing these indicators at work is a big key. So, of course, jump over to YouTube and catch us there. If you're not in the Diamond Circle, get in there now. It's free. And, of course, you get additional content. So more podcasts, more research, all that good stuff. Catch me on X, @Paul Barron. We'll catch you next time right here on TechPath.